Have you ever stopped to think about how a giant company actually shops? I'm not talking about a grocery run. I mean, how they manage a global shopping list for everything they need and then actually pay for it all. Well, there's a system for that. It's called the Expenditure Cycle, and it's the invisible engine that powers every single purchase a business makes.
I mean, really think about it. How does a massive corporation buy everything from paper clips to jet engines, get them delivered to the right place, and pay the right amount without the whole thing just completely falling apart? It seems impossible, right? But the answer is this surprisingly smart, surprisingly elegant system that keeps global commerce from grinding to a halt.
And that elegant system, that master blueprint for all corporate spending, it's called the Expenditure Cycle. Think of it as the official rulebook for how a company orders, receives, and pays for literally everything.
So what does that really mean in plain English? Well, at its heart, the expenditure cycle is the entire journey a purchase takes. It starts the second someone realizes, hey, we need more of this, follows the product as it arrives at the loading dock, and it doesn't end until the very last cent is paid to the supplier. It's the whole shebang, from start to finish.
Now, the easiest way to wrap your head around this whole cycle is to just split it in two. You've got two halves of the same coin. The first half is purchases processing. This is all about the physical stuff, ordering things and getting them in the door. The second half is cash disbursements. That's all about the money, making sure the bills for all that stuff get paid. Let's tackle that first half.
So, how does a simple need turn into a delivery truck backing up to a warehouse? It's kind of like a carefully choreographed dance, with different departments all playing their part, and it all kicks off the moment someone realizes, uh-oh, we're running low.
In a traditional old-school paper system, the story plays out in 6 key steps. First, someone sees inventory is low and fills out an internal request, called a purchase requisition. That goes to the purchasing department, which then creates the official purchase order, the PO. Next, the goods arrive, and the receiving team checks them over. After that, the inventory records get updated, accounts payable gets the bill and records it, and finally, the whole transaction gets logged in the company's main financial record, the general ledger. Every step is a handoff, creating this perfect, logical paper trail.
But buried inside this process is this really clever little trick. To make sure everyone is being honest and accurate, the receiving department gets something special, a blind copy of that purchase order.
So what on earth is a blind copy? Simple. It's the purchase order, but with one key piece of information missing: how many items were ordered. Now, why would you do that? Well, picture a busy receiving dock. If the clerk knows they're supposed to get 100 boxes, they might just glance at the pile and sign off. But if they have no idea how many are supposed to be there, they have no choice but to physically count and inspect every single item. It's a brilliantly simple way to prevent errors and catch fraud before it even starts.
Okay, so the goods are safely in the warehouse. We're done, right? Not even close. The cycle isn't finished until the vendor gets paid. And that brings us to the second half of our journey, cash disbursement. It's time to follow the money.
And you guessed it, the payment process has its own set of checks and balances. First, the accounts payable team flags the bills that are due for payment. Then they give the green light to a totally separate department, cash disbursements, to actually write and send the check. Once that's done, the AP record is updated to show the bill is paid, and just like before, the whole thing is posted to the general ledger. The key here is that separation. One team approves the payment, another team makes the payment.
At this point, you might be thinking, wow, this seems really complicated. All these departments and paper trails and separate steps. And you're right, but there's a very, very good reason for all of it, to protect the company from some pretty serious threats.
You can think of the whole system as a fortress, and that fortress is built on a foundation of 5 key internal controls. These are like 5 layers of security, and each one is designed to stop a very specific type of problem and protect the company's assets, its cash, and its inventory.
See, every single step we've talked about is actually a control in disguise. Worried about ordering way too much stuff or running out completely? That's why you have formal transaction authorization. Concerned about theft? That's where segregation of duties comes in, keeping the people who handle the goods away from the people who handle the books. And what about paying fake bills? You need independent verification, where different departments have to agree before a check is cut. It's a whole web of checks and balances that makes being dishonest really, really difficult.
Let's just zoom in on that one control, segregation of duties, because it's so important. The person who keeps the records for all the inventory can't be the same person who works in the warehouse. The department that approves bills for payment can't be the same department that actually writes the checks. And the logic? It's crystal clear. You never, ever want to give one single person the power to both control an asset and also be in charge of recording what happens to it. That is just asking for trouble.
Of course, we all know that in the real world today, most of this isn't happening with stacks of paper and filing cabinets anymore. Technology has completely revolutionized the expenditure cycle, moving it from the world of paper to the world of pixels.
But here's a really important distinction. There are two different ways to use that technology. The first is automation. That's just taking the same old manual steps and using a computer to do them faster. The second, and much more powerful approach, is re-engineering. This is about using technology to completely rethink the process itself, to throw out the old playbook and design something fundamentally better.
You can see this evolution perfectly just by looking at the ordering process. At first, you have a computer that just suggests a purchase, but a human still has to approve it. Then, you get a computer that actually creates the purchase order, but again, a human has to sign off. The next leap is full automation. The computer creates and sends the PO all by itself. But the final stage, true re-engineering, is something like EDI, or electronic data interchange. This is where your computer system talks directly to your supplier's computer system. When your inventory gets low, your system automatically tells their system to send more stuff. No purchase orders, no emails, no people involved at all.
And the results of all this tech, they're huge. You get way faster processing, you practically eliminate paper, and you have access to real-time information about your business. That means you can make smarter decisions and you can make them a whole lot faster. But all of this progress leaves us with one final, really important question to think about. As these systems get more and more automated, as we remove the human checks and balances we've relied on for so long, have we actually eliminated risk, or have we just moved it? Have we traded the risk of a person making a mistake for the risk of a hacker breaking in? It's a question every modern company has to grapple with every single day.